Thanks for watching us here on YouTube. This is our normal podcast that we do, which is available for download as an audio version over at oncepodcast.com. And what you're about to see are just our initial reactions. We do a lot more talk in our regular full audio episode, 2 episodes per week over at oncepodcast.com. So make sure that you're subscribed over there. But thank you for watching over here. Leave a comment down below to let us know that you watched. You're listening to Once, episode 162, The Apprentice, Initial Reactions. Welcome back to another episode of Once, the unofficial podcast for ABC's TV show Once Upon a Time. I'm Daniel J. Lewis.
I'm Jeremy Laughlin.
And we're happy to have you. You're fired. Oh, sorry, wrong TV show. I was thinking about that so much during this.
Were you?
Seeing, Donald Trump. Maybe he's the one that originally made the hat. Maybe not.
What?
These are just our initial reactions. So we're going to be a bit...
These are just his initial reactions.
We're going to be a bit all over the place in our discussion of this episode of Once Upon a Time. But this was a cool episode.
Oh, I get it.
It started really cool. I loved how they showed us something. None of our regular characters. They showed us something from a long time ago, and now we've seen something older than everything else we've seen before in Once Upon a Time.
You think so?
Yeah, because this was Zoso Dark One.
Yeah.
And that was before, well, yeah, it could have been just a couple years before Rumple became the Dark One. But my thinking is this is many years before that. We don't know exactly how long before. We don't know how long Zoso was the Dark One.
The funny thing was, I couldn't tell whether he'd ever met the Apprentice before. Because the Apprentice said, "You're not the first Dark One I've faced," as though he had not faced this one before. But then he called him by name, and I don't feel like he got a chance to read the dagger.
Well, he is the Sorcerer's apprentice. Maybe he just knows the names of all of the Dark Ones. Because there have been several Dark Ones. I was thinking initially when we saw that scene, I thought, oh, cool, we're going to get to see how the Dark One was originally created.
Were you?
I thought so.
Oh, I was not thinking that. I did figure out it was not Rumple before they revealed that.
But it was really cool to see that. And it reminds me of how there was a particular episode of Lost where the entire episode took place a long time ago and gave us none of our regular characters. And it was one of the most awesome episodes ever. But that was Lost. This is Once Upon a Time.
And this was just one scene.
Yeah. One short little
I'm glad
scene
that it reminded you of that, though.
that we never touched on again, like never went back to that time. They just wanted to set it up for us.
Right.
But it was really cool nonetheless to get to see Zoso again and learn about this box that has the hat. So the box doesn't actually hold whatever sorcerer is behind it, whether that be Yen Sid, which would be the proper sorcerer's apprentice, or sorcerer for the apprentice, according to Disney's Fantasia, or could it go back to Merlin? Since they're being very Disney-esque with this, even having the hat have all of these stars on it, and then the apprentice became one of those lucky stars. I think that they're going with the Yen Sid route, not a Merlin route. And Merlin's hat would be quite different anyway. I'm still pointy, yeah, but not blue, not with stars and galaxies.
What makes you think that it might be Merlin now?
Well, just
again?
I'm not really thinking it that much, just that Merlin is a very traditional wizard.
A possible wizard?
Yeah.
Oh, a traditional wizard.
Right. When in stories, or not in stories, but like the Disney movie, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, the new one with Nicolas Cage and some other people.
Is he in everything?
Yeah. In
Oh, yeah, I
there,
remember that movie.
they talk about Merlin. The story starts with talking about Merlin, and then it sets it up for The Sorcerer's Apprentice. But it was really cool that we got to see the walking broomstick or mop
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're supposed to be mops, not broomsticks. But they kept making this one a broom. And someone's going to have to teach Henry how to sweep, or just let the broom do it, because he clearly, no.
Maybe we'll see that he'll just, and then the broom will start sweeping for him.
It's a good snap.
Because after all, that's what Rumple does for his magic.
Yeah. It didn't look like that floor needed too much sweeping, so I'm sure they'll be fine. Henry didn't even negotiate pay, though.
Maybe
before he started sweeping.
Well, he's going to be an apprentice.
Yeah.
That doesn't always involve pay.
He's kind of conning Gold a little bit.
That's true.
It was kind of disingenuous of him. With my dad, I want to be close to the closest thing I have left, Grandpa. I'm definitely not trying to work you for information from my mom.
And I'm not playing the I'm your only connection to your son card. No, not at all.
Henry's a little manipulator.
Yeah, but smart. He's episode, while at the same time being a little bit naive in places.
He's more like a mongoose now.
Yeah. You eat that cobra. You kill it. Well, what do you think about this idea that maybe Rumple has figured out how he can have a happy ending after all? Is that really a thing affecting him?
I think he had a happy ending and suddenly he's gotten all power hungry and greedy again.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't. It's kind of like Follow the Lady again, where we can't figure out which dagger is the real dagger. When is he switching it? When is he letting Belle have the real dagger? He might as well just take it back from Belle instead of having to tell us about having switched it. And
right, he should just say, Belle, so there's this stuff, and I need to do this, and I need the dagger back.
Belle, I think it would be best if you don't have the dagger, because now everyone knows you have the dagger and they can control me with that dagger. Control him? That's cool. That the reason he wants this hat, which we still don't know how the box ended up in Storybrooke this time.
I liked the opening effect of the box much better this episode, and they did it several times because they just liked it too, I think.
Oh, yeah. So he wants to be free from the control of the dagger. And that's his new goal. But that means he'll have all the magic and no responsibility. Come on, didn't you watch Spider-Man, which is owned by Marvel? Yes, you wouldn't believe how many tweets and comments I received that said, Daniel, Spider-Man is owned by Marvel. And my answer to all of them was, keep listening.
My goodness, don't any of you people listen while you're driving?
Yeah, don't text and drive.
Or tweet.
Yeah. You can listen to podcasts and drive. But this is, I think, a scary thing to think about Rumple without that responsibility, because that is accountability for him. That is how he's showing trustworthiness or fake trustworthiness to Belle.
He is still a villain.
He is, but does that mean he has to act like a villain?
I think it does.
I want to see him change in some ways, but then in other ways, I want to see Rumple, like all golden-skinned Rumple in Storybrooke. Which, by the way, speaking of traditional Rumple, awesome to see another Rumple contract, which we haven't seen since season 1. I think the only time we've seen him have a contract that he's had someone sign was in the 4th episode, The Price of Magic. I think that was the only time we saw him have a contract that he required someone to sign.
Maybe.
That was really cool, though, seeing another Rumple contract.
Yeah. Which was never fully fulfilled either way, because she got the dagger.
Yeah. For a little while.
And so now we still don't know what happened to her. She did make it back. She may actually have gotten married.
And Rumple did know her, But what is there to cover up from this? Why is he denying that he knows anything about Anna?
Maybe he doesn't remember. Maybe he's had his memories removed the same way others have forgotten Snow Queen.
Maybe. But we also know that he was lying during that.
He's a lying, cheating, unchanging villain.
Yeah, and that wasn't the real dagger that Belle used on him, so he wasn't being forced to actually tell the truth.
Sorry, Rumbellers, but this is not looking good.
Hook was looking good with his new hand back, or old hand back.
That was awkward. That was just awkward.
It was really cool, though, to see. And I thought, oh, cool. They're going to let him do the rest of the show with his regular hand instead of having this hook again. And no, they gave it back.
What do we call you now? Captain Hand?
Speaking of hand, I want to thank some people who lend us a hand with this podcast. David Newland, Bridget J., and Amanda Robar. Thank you very much for your kind donations for the podcast. They help keep the podcast running, the server running, the forums running, help cover our expenses for running the podcast, and the expenses are big. So we really appreciate the support. Thank you very much, David, Bridget, and Amanda. We really appreciate your support. And also our Patreon backers. We've got 8 backers on Patreon, and we're very close to reaching our goal that I can upgrade our chat room to something better, our chat room for the live show and the chat room for the website forums over at oncepodcast.com/forums. I think it's just $5 more per episode, and we'll be up to high enough to be able to upgrade that chat room. But we really appreciate the support that you're giving so far, because that's covering all of our regular expenses that are rising, and we appreciate that. So if you want to find out how you can be a supporter and donate a one-time donation or an automatic monthly donation or even a per episode donation, check out all of the options over at oncepodcast.com/sponsor. And thank you for your kind support.
You know, that hand makes me think of Doctor Who. Just saying for the Doctor Who fans out there.
Doctor Who and Torchwood.
Okay.
Well, it was more significant, I think, in Torchwood.
I didn't watch Torchwood.
Oh, the hand shows up in Torchwood. Spoiler, by the way, for Torchwood fans. I liked how we got to see, again, Michael Socha just a little bit as Will Scarlet. And I knew that the book he would be after.
Socked.
The book that he would be after would be Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
You knew?
Yeah, I figured, what else could he be there for? Sure, he was drunk, and Hook pointed that out, but it was the library. I could tell from the door.
Well, there used to be, for example, a dragon in the, I was going to say the basement, but it's a little more than a basement. He could have been after anything in there.
Yeah.
He knows a lot about stuff he shouldn't know about.
But he has a Red Queen card.
Well, it was a page from the book.
Oh, okay.
That he tore out and put in his pocket. I was happy to have them acknowledge his real history.
Mm-hmm. It makes me think that probably in the next episode, we'll get his story of how he came here to Storybrooke again, why he's here, what happened to Anastasia from Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, the spinoff TV show. Watch it if you haven't already. Good luck trying to figure out how to watch it, because it's not on disc. ABC, come on.
Just buy it digitally.
We also got another Van Winkle reference, which we mentioned in our review of the season 3 discs, how there was a deleted scene where we got to meet Van Winkle, but it was a scene that just made no sense whatsoever and was long and drawn out. So no surprise that they deleted it, but we heard him mentioned on the radio, and that was probably one of the Lost writers' voice again on the radio. They tend to have him phone in these lines for the radio shows that he has.
It was a pretty good spiel.
Mm-hmm. So Snow Queen, we saw her a little bit, just in basically one scene. And she seems to be leading Emma somewhere. I think
to the trash, if I'm not mistaken. Was that not a big dumpster enclosure?
Well, yeah.
Hey, Emma. Let's go dumpster diving. I've been preserving the trash from Granny's, and I think some of it's still good.
I thought that she was going to lure Emma away from everyone else in order to have some kind of talk with her, and we would get to hear whatever history it is that they have together. Most likely, though, now that
no, because apparently that's bad for her for Emma to remember.
Yeah, or some kind of conversation, but most likely when they show us that, they'll probably show us through flashbacks.
Do you think she accidentally hurt Emma? Is it like the movie Frozen?
I don't know if it'd be like that.
That was why the memories were removed in the movie.
True.
Well, yeah.
Because
it was never really clear why the memories were removed. It just, that seemed to be related.
The head can be persuaded.
Well, yes.
That's why they needed to be removed. So the head could be persuaded to not give in to the frozen.
If I don't remember, it didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. I liked this episode overall. We got to see a neat character, the Sorcerer's Apprentice. I thought cast really well. They got a great person for it. But now he's gone. And we got to learn.
Yeah, can they come back from that, or did Rumple just kill someone?
Well, the hat absorbs magic. And this guy, I guess, was completely a magical being at this point after thousands of years.
And so Rumple's end game is to be free of the dagger and still have his power?
Yes.
So he's still trying. He's still choosing his power over everyone and everything else.
Yeah.
He has not changed.
And it made me wonder, are they revisiting this idea of changing the laws of magic again?
Sure. Well, no. They're revisiting the idea of combining forces to do something not previously possible.
Right.
So yes and no, but not changing the laws, just doing something no one was powerful enough to do.
Because he said even the Dark One has limits, which reminds me of how magic has limits, wishes have limits, and they're all basically the same limits. Stuff like you can't make someone fall in love with you, you can't bring someone back from the dead, that kind of stuff. So I wonder if he gets this hat and absorbs enough magic with the hat or uses the hat in some way, is that going to enable him to bring back Neil?
No.
Yeah, probably not.
And he doesn't seem to be after that.
No, he just wants his freedom.
You know, he's totally moved on over his entire reason for everything he's done for the last several hundred years.
He's back to his nasty habits.
He's a dummy. You know, the hat reminded me, except I don't remember what the character's called. There was a character in video games. I sound ancient right now, but it was what was the pink one that would, like in Smash Brothers, it could suck in air and pull in another character and take whatever their special ability was?
I don't know. I didn't play Mario much.
Leave us some feedback and remind us what that was called.
Oncepodcast.com/162. Comment there in the show notes.
Now I just want to know.
Well, yeah, and the hat is absorbing all of this magical power and it's adding stars to the hat. And does that mean that Rumple needs to absorb the power of more people like Regina?
Snow Queen. Kirby.
Snow Queen.
The character
Kirby.
Kirby.
Okay, yeah, that's right. And chat room is letting us know right now as well.
Oh, nice.
And so who's next? And what's next in this deal that Hook made or is basically forced into with Rumple?
Yeah, I'm not. The only thing I didn't like about this episode by the end, at first I didn't like the whole notion of the hand making him go bad, but I was glad that they said, nah, that was not true.
Yeah.
But the whole thing with Rumple and Hook, I'm kind of not a fan of. But unless they don't drag it out, because they've been not dragging these things out, which has made them interesting instead of annoying. So I'm hoping that's going to be the case again.
And the last time there was an open-ended deal like this was back in the same episode where we last saw a Rumpelstiltskin contract, The Price of Magic, in season 1. And that was the deal he made with Emma, that was just she would owe him a favor someday. And that favor ended up being getting Neil to talk with Rumple. So he had something bigger in mind, or maybe not even something specific in mind, but just for Hook to be Rumple's henchman, basically. Maybe, or his assistant in some way, which is interesting because Peter Pan made a deal, or wanted to make a deal with Hook, for Hook to do Peter Pan's bidding, and Hook wouldn't have that. I think Hook is changing, but he's being confronted with that inner darkness again.
Yeah, I kind of thought, I don't know. I don't know if he could be so easily persuaded to do those things just because of what he was told about the hand.
Right.
The funny thing is, once again, Rumple is the only one truly threatening his own happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
He always does it to himself. Villain.
So there's some cool stuff with this episode, and we definitely want to have your feedback about this episode for our upcoming full discussion of The Apprentice, not the TV show, but just this episode of Once Upon a Time. Please email your feedback to feedback@oncepodcast.com and put in the subject line of that email, The Apprentice. And also you can call and leave a voicemail at 903-231-2221, or go to the website oncepodcast.com and click or tap on the send a voice message link to send a message from your computer or iOS device. And we'd love to have your feedback for our upcoming full discussion. And we'll have spoilers with Hunter and Jacqueline. And my audio producer recently, because I have someone else produce the episodes, and I just do a basic check back on the quality of the episode, check a couple spots where I thought there might be problems. And sometimes that involves just kind of briefly checking the spoiler section just to make sure the volume levels are right. But he told me, Daniel, do not at all check the spoiler spot. The only spot you can check is this tiny little 3-second section at the end. Nothing else. You will regret it if you do, because I'm trying to stay spoiler free. So Hunter and Jacqueline hit something really big. Even my audio editor, John, said, he doesn't watch the show, the Once Upon a Time show, but he did say he's getting plot points and understanding things, and he was amazed by the spoiler. So that's really cool. I have no idea what it is. I don't want to know what it is, but Hunter and Jacqueline know, and they bring these awesome spoilers to the podcast. And also Aaron J brings a great perspective during our regular full discussion. So we've got all of that coming up live on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time over at oncepodcast.com/live. You can also catch us on Sunday nights, chat with us during the Eastern and Central time airing of the show at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, and stick around for the podcast that we do, this one, right after the show at 9:15 p.m. If you forget all of that, forget everything else we've said, you can get it all at oncepodcast.com. Please leave reviews for us in iTunes or Stitcher if that's how you found us, and we'd really appreciate some honest reviews there. It helps us, and it helps other people find the podcast. And it lets us know what you think too. So we'd love to connect with you on Twitter. Please follow us on Twitter at Once Podcast. I'm Daniel J. Lewis on Twitter at The Ramen Noodle.
I'm Jeremy Laughlin on Twitter at Phlegon. That's PHLEGON.
And comment on this episode. Send us your feedback. Show notes for this will be at oncepodcast.com/162. And until next time, we both know you're just too nice. But thanks for listening. Once Podcast is a proud member of Noodle.mx Network. Find more of our award-winning and award-nominated podcasts to make you think, laugh, and succeed at Noodle.mx. Big thanks to our sponsors for this episode of the podcast. If you'd like to be one of them and help cover our costs and just support this free podcast that we provide for you, then please go to oncepodcast.com/sponsor.